Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our webinar about California community colleges. My name is Basha. I'm one of the Education USA advisors here at the US-UK Fulbright Commission in London. Tonight, we're joined by three lovely ladies that will run the webinar for us. So we have Courtney Sutton from Columbia College, Nusha Shishagar from Glendale Community College, and Emily Pack from Modesto Junior College, which are all based in California. We'll be discussing community colleges as well as community colleges in California tonight. And you can ask any questions that you might have in our Q&A box, which we will answer at the end of the webinar. And just so you know, the session will be recorded and will be available for you to view later on this week. So let us start.
Thank you, Basha. So as we're going to introduce ourselves and give you a little bit about our colleges in just a second, but as Basha mentioned, we are talking today about the California community colleges. We will introduce you to what the community college system is as a whole, but we are going to focus a little bit on California since we're from there, and we think that you all should come. But we will talk about what a community college even is. That is kind of a system that might be a little bit unique to the US. We'll give you a little bit of information about our colleges in particular, and we'll also talk about why the California community colleges or community colleges in general are an excellent and incredibly smart choice when it comes to pursuing education in the US. We'll give you a little bit of a hint of how to get here, and then we'll open up for any questions that you may have in the audience. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Basha, if you can move to the next slide over. I'm going to start with Courtney.
Good morning. My name is Courtney Sutton. I'm our Director of Outreach and Retention here at Columbia College. And I'm so excited to be here and be able to share, like my presenter partner said, about California community colleges and what a great choice that can be for you, and a little bit about Columbia. So some fun facts about Columbia College. We are located in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. We also even have a very unique campus at a high elevation called our Baker Station, where we have some more of our outdoor education opportunities and adventures, not to mention our nature journaling and river rafting. We also, though, have a wide variety of educational opportunities where students can earn their first 2 years of their degree at an affordable rate. And then the most unique thing about our community college here at Columbia is that we do have on-campus housing that is available for our international students and our local students. So you get to know all of our campus and all of the students here. And so that's a little bit about Columbia College. And again, I'm really happy to be here today and talk more to you about our system here in California.
Thanks, Courtney. So it's me again. My name is Nusha Shishagar. I am the Senior Coordinator at Glendale Community College for our International Student Programs Office. A couple fun facts about us. Glendale is located also in the hills, but also really, really close to downtown Los Angeles, where you find a lot of really cool things to do. So there's never any downtime at Glendale. Your academics come first, but we also want you to have a lot of fun and explore the area. We are, like I said, we're located in the hills. We have we're known for having a very beautiful campus in the area. All of our buildings are air conditioned. We even just built a new science and technology building with modern science computer labs, a new athletic compound, and we have a really big library stocked not only with everything you need to do your research and get through your classes, but also study spaces, communal spaces that you can meet with your classmates. We have a unique program. Well, every community campus, we'll talk a little bit about employment in the US, but every community campus does offer both on-campus and off-campus work opportunities. Glendale's a little unique. Sometimes not every community college offers this at their certificate levels. We actually have both our certificate and our associate's degree levels verified for off-campus employment, so you can partake in what's called curricular practical training at each level. We also have a unique thing that we started the last couple of years called our team internships. These are where we have business partners in the area that partner with the campus to present a business problem, and our students work together to find a real-world, real-life solution to a problem that business faces. It's a really unique experience and gives our students a lot of, sort of real-world problem-solving opportunities and can really get them hired as they move out into the field. And the great thing about this is an on-campus internship, and it is paid. So it's a wonderful thing to get involved in if you're interested. We have a long legacy of foundational excellence and transfer. We do have one of the highest rates of transfer in the California system of community colleges to four-year schools. In fact, I think this last year we were number 3 in all of California transferring to USC, and quite high to the Cal States, including Cal State Northridge, which is right up the street from us. We also provide priority registration for our international students, so you don't have to fight to get the classes that you want. You get first pick at them because we do prioritize you guys. We really, really support and believe in our international students. And I mentioned earlier, our location makes us available, able to take you out to really cool things that are sort of worldwide known entities, things like Los Angeles Lakers and Dodgers games, Disneyland, things like that. We take you, we also help you find resources to be able to explore those things on your own. So great place to come. I love my campus, so I highly recommend you check us out if you're interested in coming to California and studying at our schools.
Hi, I'm Emily Pack. I'm the International Student Counselor at Modesto Junior College. Modesto is right in the middle of California. North to south, we're in the middle, and east to west, we're right in the middle of the Central Valley. It's an agricultural area. We're highly known for our agricultural programs. We have students come from all over California and other states in the US to study agriculture here because they're very renowned. We also have a pretty well-known automotive technology program. We just became part of Subaru University, where Subaru provides us with cars for students to work on. So they're working with all the latest technologies. And we have a very popular nursing program as well, but we do have over 200 different degrees and certificates. So that's only a few of the top ones. We're a highly diverse area. Most of California is, but within our district, 88 languages are spoken. We have a lot of people living in this area from India, Southeast Asia, Afghanistan, Ukraine, the last couple of years. We have a lot of international cuisines and markets, so you may be able to find the foods that you're used to at markets and restaurants in the area. We offer priority registration to our international students as well, so they register on either the first or second day of registration. We do have over 17,000 students, so it is important for our international students to get the classes they need so they can graduate. I'm the counselor for the program. I work with students from admission through graduation, transfer, and OPT, which we'll talk about in a little bit. That's a little bit of a unique model because I help with all of the academic and career planning for international students as well. And like I said, we're in the middle of California. So although this area is pretty agricultural, within a 2-hour drive, you can be at the beach, up in the mountains skiing, or to San Francisco or Sacramento, the state capital. So there's a lot of opportunities to explore California when you're a student here. Oh, okay, this is me. So the higher education system in California is unique within the US. So US higher education can be a little bit different anyway. But California is the biggest state, and we offer a few more, I guess, tiers of education than other states. If you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So the California community colleges specifically, there are 116 colleges. So we're only representing 3 today, but there is one in nearly every area. I can't think of anywhere in California where you would be more than maybe 30 to 60 minutes from a community college. We are set up to serve the local area. That's why there's so many. So although Columbia offers housing, that's very unique. Most of our campuses, students drive or take public transportation because people tend to go to the one that's closest to where they're living. We offer certificates and associate degrees. So certificates are just training for a specific job for the most part. Associate degrees are equal to the first 2 years of a bachelor's degree, if that's your goal, or they can be more vocational, again, with that specific job training. I had talked about agriculture and automotive technician. Those are usually associate degrees that result in a job at the end in that field. We also nursing, welding, physical therapist assistant. Those are just a few more that would be associate's degrees without the transfer. So in the US, a bachelor's degree is typically 4 years. That's different from a lot of other places. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So this just shows the system within California specifically, but also the US in general. So the certificates, those usually take 1, but they might take 1.5 to 2 years, depending on how involved it is. The Associate of Arts, which is the AA, the AAT is Associate of Arts Transfer, AS is an Associate of Science, and an AST is an Associate of Science Transfer. Those usually take 2 years. They can take 3, particularly in the STEM fields. And those are offered at our community colleges. Sorry, I think when I made this graph, there were only 112. And now, as I said, we have 116. From there, you can move on to a bachelor degree, a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science. Those are offered at our Cal State universities and our University of California systems. So you can finish the first half of that here. And then master's degrees and PhDs are only offered at the other campuses. Those are not available at community colleges. So we stop with the associate degrees. I think you can go on to the next one. Okay.
And so at our community colleges, some of you might be familiar with athletics at your current high schools or other previous institutions, and we carry on athletics at our colleges. Some colleges offer just 2 sports, one for men and one for women. Other campuses have a robust athletics department with many, many teams. And so both our students are able to continue their athletic endeavors and passions, and then we're able to support those athletic events by participating in watching them. And a lot of our students love attending them, our faculty and staff. It becomes a really big community event. And like one of my presenter partners says, we are investing in those facilities. And so they're quite impressive and really fun to come watch. And again, it really brings in the community, both with our athletics and then also some of the events that happen in our area, both in the arts and music. A lot of times, since we are community colleges, the community is reaching out and looking for ways to partner and engage with our younger community and look for expertise as well with some of our faculty and staff. So we'll see some really unique events for each of our areas, whether that be a lecture series or movies. A lot of time, again, we're seeing partnerships with our faculty where they've been able to pursue their own passions and then bring them back to our campuses and present them either in a lecture series or a film series. But also we're seeing students want to engage. And so on our campus, we have campus clubs. So one of our continuous clubs on campus is Dungeons and Dragons. We also have new this year is one of our STEM clubs, so a science club. And we also have our outdoor adventures, so bouldering on campus is a big one, but really looking into what our students are wanting to do. Our chess club has been continuing to grow on campus. So it's really what the students are interested in, and they find some partners, and then they find more support from the campus through their student government. So not only does our student government support campus clubs, but it also represents the student voice and making sure that's represented in our different constituent groups on campus. So So we are here as staff and as faculty, as some of my partners in this webinar, to support students. And so at the end of the day, our student government, which is similar to what you may have experienced in previous in your high schools or previous school environments, but it's taking the student voice and making sure it's represented in the decisions that are made that impact our students. You learn policy and procedure, and also fiscal management. So it's a really great leadership experience. As my partners mentioned, depending on our area, there's always off-campus activities. So at our campus, we have free transportation with our community within our county transportation for all students, including our international students. We also have planned activities through our student government and special programs. So there's always an opportunity to, whether that be in our Valley, in our Modesto area, or here at Columbia, we're close to our national park of Yosemite National Park. So that's a common one that we go and go to a lot of the time. You can go to the next slide. On campus, we have lots of student support services that are available to help our students succeed in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So our counseling, our academic counseling, as you mentioned, there's a lot of choices that you can have at the community college, and finding the right path can be somewhat difficult. Navigating the steps can be difficult, but our counseling offices are one of the best departments on campus to get you started, to get your questions answered. And it both looks at your academics. So what is it that the classes you're taking, also to what are some other options on campus? Maybe there's an internship, maybe there's a way to get involved, and looking at how do you manage all of that as a student, and that time management can be new. So our counseling department looks at you holistically as a student and wanting to support you, and also refer you to other services on campus. So one of those other services is our health services and basic needs services. So whether that be looking for housing, to food support, to any of those basic needs and health services, we also have those on our campus as a community college. We also have accommodations for disabilities. So all of our campuses have a department that is dedicated to that, and making sure that you have the accurate and most efficient support for you to be able to be, again, successful in the classroom. All of us have our low-cost health insurance plans for international students, as well as some immigration advising and services. Our food pantry on our campus is supported by our student government, which is really fun. So when you come to our food pantry, you'll be greeted with students to help you access both our shelved, like our pantry items, as well as fresh produce and frozen protein as well. So it's a full range. So it's like walking into your own kitchen. And so again, on all of our campuses, you'll see a form of a food pantry, because again, you can't be successful in the classroom if you don't have some of these needs taken care of outside of the classroom. And we know that, so we want to make sure that you are provided for.
So now let's talk about why you should consider us, right? Why is California Community Colleges a smart choice? For a lot of reasons. Basha, go ahead and advance us forward. So first and foremost, community colleges are a place for everyone. We provide a fresh start. You know, some of us did really well in our formative educational years, and some of us didn't, and that's okay. Your past academic status, your past test scores, all of those things can't hurt you at the community college. So if you didn't do as well as you would have liked, if maybe you're a returning student, right? You took a couple years off after high school, and you now want to come back and earn your degrees, and you're kind of finding your passion for academics a little bit later, no problem. Come to us. We're the foundational start over. We also have freedom to explore your majors and careers. So unlike our traditional campuses, our UCs and our Cal State systems, our private schools, it doesn't really hurt you too much to try out some things, right? You have to have an idea of what major it is that you want to have when you come to a community college. But if halfway through, or you take a couple classes, you're like, I don't really like science, I actually want to go be a dance major, great. You have a lot of freedom and fluidity to move around in your campus. You're not stuck in your major. And it's not difficult to change majors like it might be at another campus that's impacted. We do also offer smaller class sizes. That's a big focus at the community college. You will not be in a class of 200 students. You will be in a class of 16 to 20, sometimes 30 students maximum. Really, the focus is making sure that our academics is tailored to you and you have a very personal experience in the classroom. We also provide English language, grammar, and math support courses to help students kind of bridge that foundational knowledge so that they're prepared to move on to their advanced level courses. This is one of my favorite things. We have a large diversity of students. So when you go to a traditional campus, maybe a four-year undergraduate campus, generally everyone studying with you is in that 18 to 22 range. While that's wonderful in its own right, we have a broader diversity of students. I mentioned that some folks come to us a little bit later in life. Some folks come to us while they're currently the CEO of a company and they're wanting to take a certificate to advance their knowledge or get an associate's degree to branch into another field. So you're working with a wide diversity of students, right? You can have people in your classes that are just learning, starting out, up to experts, and those people bring a wide range of knowledge into the classroom that you benefit from. So it's a really cool place to be. We also, in our diversity, we have a wide diversity of ethnicities, which is wonderful because it gives you a global perspective, right? When you're working with people that don't necessarily think like you. It's really great to have those international perspectives. Even our cultural diversity perspectives come into play in the classroom and beyond. And really importantly here, we want to stress that this is the same quality of education as at a four-year institution. It's just the first 2 years of your bachelor's degree. Just you're taking it, I'll talk about in a second, at a much cheaper rate. The key is that all of our professors, they're either experts in their field, they're currently working in their field, or a lot of them actually do teach the same class that they're teaching in the community college at the four-year institution that's closest to them. So this is the same professor you're going to get anywhere else. I think sometimes that's a thought that the community colleges may be a little bit lesser. It's absolutely not. Same level of education, if not higher, because of those smaller class sizes. You really get to build a relationship with your professor that you may not be able to do at the Cal State or UC system. Go ahead, Basha. So this is the big one that I think makes California community colleges or community colleges in general in the US a really smart choice. And it's the financial aspect of things. For the same quality of education, you will pay a fraction of the cost in tuition at a California community college. This number is for California community colleges that you would in a public or a private setting. So just as an example, in our areas, the annual tuition for community college students is $8,500 a year, where if you take that same academic year and you place it into a UC, you're going to pay $48,000 in tuition just for 1 year. So you can see how financially, immediately, you're kind of winning by coming to the California community college system. It is important to know that scholarships are limited at the applicant stage, right? So we don't usually have like a lot of scholarships that you're applying for up front. Generally, our scholarships are for continuing students. After you've been here for a year, you can apply for a scholarship for the following year based on your academic performance primarily. There are some that are performance-based and things like that. So a lot of students sometimes think, well, then that means I'm going to pay more, right? I'm not going to get a scholarship, then that means I'm going to end up paying more. Generally not, because even if you get a 10% scholarship, let's say, at the UCs, you're still paying quite a bit more for that UC year than you would at a community college. So really what we encourage here is to compare all your offers. We're not saying don't apply for the UCs, but also consider applying to the California community colleges. And when you get your package, your offers from the UCs, the Cal States, or any privates that you're interested in, compare them to us and really consider whether or not the California Community College is going to give you that same education, that same student life experience that Courtney talked about, but for a much less rate. In a little bit, Emily's also going to talk about the sort of streamlined paths that we have for transfer. So once you do complete your 2 years, how you're getting to your 4 years and how it's a little bit actually more beneficial to you to be at a community college. But do compare us. So like I mentioned, we do have scholarships for continuing students primarily, and our campuses are non-residential. That doesn't mean we don't offer it. Some of our campuses are lucky enough to have residential offerings, meaning dorms that you can stay in, but most of our campuses don't. Even for the ones that do, they generally don't require you to stay on campus. You might find that requirement at some of the four-year institutions where they require you to spend your first year living on campus, and that can be quite a heavy expense. So we don't require that. There's no requirements to stay on campus. That means you don't have to pay the dormitory fee, which is normally higher than living off campus. We don't require a costly meal plan, right? All of those things are cost savings when you come to the California community colleges. And as Courtney mentioned earlier, there are lots of free services at the community college, really designed to help you be academically successful, but also successful in our personal and private lives. So we have things like free and reduced cost textbook programs, food pantries if we're struggling with the food insecurity, assistance with housing, free bus passes, etc. And those bus passes can be used, at least in like my area, like all of the Los Angeles metro areas. So it helps you also in your regular life, right? Not just coming to school and back home. And let's go ahead and move on. And we talked a little bit earlier about career services as being, I think, available on campuses. Career services are really, really wonderful. They can help you not only find a job after we graduate, but also can really help you make sure that you're in the right major for the job that you want to pursue. So they can help you identify the right academic program for your career outcomes that you want to pursue. All of our programs also offer the ability to work on what's called optional practical training, or OPT. This allows you as an international student to work off campus for up to 1 year after you graduate to gain educational experience in your field. We highly recommend doing that for the majors where that's available at the associate's degree level, and then transferring. That real world experience is supremely beneficial. Even if our plan is not to remain in the US and work, it really gives you a different mindset when you see how your academics are applied in professional settings every day. And a lot of us also offer curricular practical training, or CPT. That's where you can work off campus during your studies in your associate's degrees or career certificates. In your certificate programs, you can work off campus using CPT as well. So you can gain experience not only during your studies, but also after. And again, just want to plug career services. This would apply to any campus that you go to. Make sure you're using your career services early and often. I always tell my students the time to prepare for a job is not a month before the job interview. It's not 5 minutes before the job interview. It's not even 2 weeks before we apply. It's really at least a semester, maybe 2 semesters ahead, where you can go to things like resume writing workshops, cover letter writing workshops. Cover letters are a little bit unique to the US. Not a lot of countries require them. So it's really important to know how to shine on paper so that you can get the interview in person. And then the best thing the career services offices do is to offer you what's called a mock interview, where they put you through a fake interview and they give you feedback on how you answer those questions. And that mock interview is invaluable. It's gold. Make sure that you do at least one, ideally 2 or 3, during your time as a student, because this is what's going to help you. We shine on paper first, but then we need to shine in person so we can get that job. Those mock interviews are what's going to help you get those skills. And now I'm going to turn it over to Emily to talk about our transfer agreements, or tags.
Yes, so we had mentioned that we're the first 2 years of a bachelor's degree, and a bonus that we offer is we have what's called the transfer admission guarantee. These are with certain University of California campuses, basically all of the campuses except Berkeley, Los Angeles, and San Diego. But all of the other 6 campuses offer, and then whatever your local California State University campus is. So for us, that's California State Stanislaus. Whichever one is closest by will have the transfer admission guarantee. The way this works is you would complete a certain number of courses in your major, and there's a minimum grade point average. It's usually around 3.0 to 3.4 on the US scale, which means you have mostly A's and B's. And if you've completed the courses in the major with the grade point average that the campus wants, you're guaranteed admission to that campus. That's very different because these campuses can be really competitive to get into, but you get to apply early. usually for free, actually, the early part of the application, and then you get guaranteed entry. So it allows you to still apply to other campuses. I have a lot of students, for instance, who want to go to maybe UC Berkeley or LA, which are really well known, but they can get the guarantee at UC Davis, which is an excellent school. So they'll know in October, we apply a year before, they'll know in October, okay, I'm already guaranteed entry to Davis. My stress is gone. If I get into Berkeley and LA, that's great and I can go, but at least I know I'm accepted to a really great school. So that just helps ease the minds of a lot of students. And it also ensures that once you transfer, you usually only have 2 years left to go, unless you're in maybe one of the STEM majors, you might have 3 years left to go, but it cuts down on the amount of time you'll take after transfer, which again, saves you money because once you transfer, you do have to pay those higher rates. We don't have the bachelor's degrees, but it's a really great program, and counselors are educated in getting you what you need in your schedule in order to meet the agreement and get the guaranteed admission. And you can go ahead and go on. So now that you've hopefully decided a California community college is the best choice for you, we want to talk about how you get here, what the admissions process is. You can go ahead and advance. So first you would submit documents online, apply early. I would say at least 6 months in advance is a good deadline for you. So for instance, if you wanted to come to the US for fall of 2024, which is next fall, August, I would be starting on your application in February or March for, maybe earlier. Pay attention to deadlines. We do have deadlines, after which point we no longer take applications for that semester, and you would have to apply for the following semester. We do all accept students for fall and spring semesters. Spring typically starting in January or February. A lot of our 4-year campuses only take students in fall. Once your documents have been submitted and you've been accepted to your California Community College, you'll receive your Form I-20. You use that and your SEVIS fee payment in order to apply for your visa. We send along helpful advice for your visa interview when we give you the I-20, which students have said helps a lot. And then next up, you interview for your visa. You can only interview up to a year before your program begins. Some countries that may vary. And then you can arrive in the US up to 30 days before classes begin. Each school is going to have an orientation date. Ours is 1 or 2 weeks before the start of classes, depending on semester. And you want to be there for that amount of time. Most of my students do arrive close to the 30 days, the earliest they can. It gives you a time to settle in, get used to where you're going to be living, learn where everything is. A lot of our students in California want to study for their driver's license, so that's helpful to do too. Okay, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. And this just shows you the international student life cycle. So this is for all students in the US, not just the community college. So again, that first step is applying to a CEV-P certified school, which we all are. Then receiving your I-20. Next, you pay your SEVIS fee. Then you do your visa application, arrive in the US, and then you need to maintain your status during your program study. We'll go more into detail on how you do that in a moment. Once your program of study is over, you can explore post-graduation opportunities. So at that point, you have a choice. You can transfer to a higher degree level. You can do your optional practical training. You can change educational levels. So within our school, sometimes students will decide to stay for a second degree, or you may go, like I said, up to a bachelor's. We even have students, honestly, who have a bachelor's from outside of the US who earn a degree with us and then go to a master's degree program. So that may be available to you as well. After either your work or you have a 60-day grace period at the end of your program, if you don't want to go on, then you would depart the US. So, but students do a variety of things after they graduate. You can go ahead and go to the next slide there. So when you're here in the US, it's really important that you maintain your status. What that means is once you're a student here, you have to be a full-time student. You're only currently allowed to take one of your courses online. What that usually means is you're taking 3 courses on campus, 1 online, but that could vary depending on how many hours each class meets per week. You have to maintain or make satisfactory academic progress, which we usually define as completing 12 units a semester. Again, that breaks down to 3 or 4 classes, and a 2.0 grade point average. On the US scale, that's a grade of C or better, or 70% or higher. And you must follow the employment rules. So you can't work unauthorized. You may work on campus up to 20 hours per week during the school year. Off campus is only permitted with certain authorizations, typically not within your first year. So it's really important to not plan on working off campus. Even though your US counterparts will be able to do that, that option is not available to international students. So you can work on campus, and then after your first year, you may have options for working off campus, but only with authorization from the school first. All right.
That's great. Thank you so much. We have a couple questions, so I'm just going to read them out, and if someone would like to answer them, as you're the experts. So you've mentioned that you could transfer after 2 years to your California universities. Can students transfer to universities outside of California, or universities that are not part of the UC schools, basically?
Absolutely. And I'll take that one because I do work, I think, a little more closely with all our academic programs. So within California, like I said, we're pretty unique. We do not permit transfer before 2 years. Out of state is different. Sometimes students may transfer sooner, but yes, you can definitely transfer out of state. You can also transfer to private campuses. Nusha had mentioned USC, University of Southern California. Even though there's a U and a C in the title, it's not a University of California. However, the out-of-state and private don't have those agreements in place. It just takes a little more planning on the student and academic counselor's part to find out what those requirements are. But it's absolutely an option, and I do have students go out of state.
Great. Another question is, can students take any classes at four-year institutions whilst they're at any of your community colleges?
Yes. Yes, there's a process called concurrent enrollment that international students have to do, where if they want to count units at another campus, they would talk with their immigration advisor or their academic counselor about counting those units at another school towards their coursework. In addition, if they're making full-time enrollment at the California community college that they're at, they can take extra classes at the other schools without any permission needed. It's only if you want to count it towards your full-time enrollment that you need permission. But yeah, absolutely, they can take classes, and a lot of our students do. They will take an additional course at a UC, and if it does count for their associate's degree, they'll transfer it back.
Okay, so if it counts for their associate's degree, would they have to pay the fee to the community college or to the university that they're taking the class from?
To the university that they're enrolled in, yeah. So normally, if the class is offered at your community college campus, you would want to take it there because that cost savings is dramatic, and you would want to take it with us. But some students start some of their additional coursework at another campus if they're just interested in it.
Okay, and we have one more question. So I think one of you mentioned the size of your campus, but just to kind of give an overview, because obviously there's different size of universities in the US, but I know for a fact that the community colleges are also different sizes. Some have more than one campus, some have one campus. So can you just give us a bit of an idea of what each campus sizes, and if you have more than one campus, or if it's just one campus that's small or one campus that's big?
Yes, I'll go first. So I think I mentioned, we have about 17,000 students. I would say 17 to 20,000. It kind of differs sometimes between like fall and spring. We do have two campuses. They're 10 minutes apart from each other. We have a free shuttle between the campuses. And the reason for that is, like I said, our agriculture program. So our agricultural campus has a lot more land because we have cows and horses and pigs and sheep and huge fields, and we have like crop science. So we have orchards and fields growing vegetables, and our other campus is more in the middle of the city of Modesto. We don't have room for all those things. So that's our campus.
Yeah, I think we're a really good sampling of what our community colleges have to offer. Our Columbia College is on the much smaller side. So our campus, as Emily mentions, depending on the semester, is anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 students. And so we're much smaller. Our campus is, when you think about geography, it is hilly. So I'm in charge of campus tours. So I always tell people, make sure you bring tennis shoes and be prepared to walk, because we have paths and things, and our campuses are in different, our classrooms are in different buildings on campus. So you walk from one building to the other. But when you come on, you definitely feel like you're coming onto a college campus. We have it's definitely, like I said, hilly with trees. We have people come on campus just to walk our trails. So you kind of have like this feeling of an environment, like an outdoor in a forest kind of. And we even have a little reservoir on campus. So it has quite the nature aspect of it. But again, I think we're a really good sampling, as I pass it off to our third institution, a really good sampling of what you could see here in California with the range that we offer with our community colleges. But we're definitely on the smaller side.
Totally. And we might be somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit higher. So we generally have anywhere between 25,000 to 28,000 students on campus. I do think it's important to note, though, that not all of our students are full-time. Our international students have to be full-time. But so even though you have 25,000, 28,000, that might seem like, oh my God, I'm going to walk into a sea of people. It's going to be overwhelming. It generally doesn't have that feel of like lots of, you're not walking into a concert, right? It's a lot smaller, and you actually really get to know people, because the people in your classes, you're kind of going to see them, follow them through, you'll make connections, you talk about which classes take together, things like that. And you really still get to have a very personalized and small experience, even if the university, or I'm sorry, the college campus size appears quite large. That might be a little different than if you go to a UC or a Cal State or any residential campus where everyone's sort of living on campus there all the time. That 36 to 48,000 students that are there are really there. It's be very overwhelming, and maybe a little bit more lonely of an experience. But a lot of our students are kind of coming and going because of the diversity of our student nature. So so we are 25 to 28,000, depending on the year, depending on enrollment. But it feels a lot more intimate than that on our campus.
Related to that, I wanted to add on, because the question wasn't quite asked, but I get it a lot from students. Most classes only meet 2 days a week. It's very typical for your class to meet Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So most students are only coming to campus 2 or 3 days a week. At least my students like that, because it cuts down on travel time. So for instance, you might come to campus Mondays and Wednesdays, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursdays you stay home, and that's when you do all your homework. So that's pretty typical, and that's also why it can feel smaller, because all of our, like I said, 17,000 students here are not here Monday through Friday, for sure.
That's actually good to know. Gives people an idea of what it would look like if they go to a community college. So thank you for that, Emily. I think those are all the questions we have for tonight. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you so much for giving us information about the wonderful community